Well, hello, good afternoon everybody. I hope you're all okay and your weather's nice and you're having a lovely weekend and all that kind of stuff. Where in the world are you? What are you up to? Come and say hello to me this morning. Nice to hear from you. Morning, Sam. Don't have Kim with me this morning. She's actually on her way up. So I have daughter in transit this morning. Hi, Anne, Beverly, who's on YouTube. Hi, Shelley and Sylvia, ready and waiting. Hi, Sue, Christine. Busy already, aren't we? Damp in Plymouth. When Kim left London this morning, she said it was raining and we're kind of okay here at the moment. A little grey, but warm. A damp chap, says Sue. That's okay, Sue. Oh, on the website last week when we had the sale and I did lots of giveaways, I've still got some more to do. So there will be some more if you're receiving a gift in the post. We tried to get as many done last weekend as we could, but it was rather hectic, not just weekend, but hectic week this week. So we will be sending out some more over the next few days. So you never know, you might get a little surprise in the post. This is if you would have ordered from the website last weekend. Hello, Sylvia in Germany. Sorry if I miss anybody. Craft Angel, hello. Jeanette Blair, hello to you. Ali B, Marion's in Sheffield. Nicholas here. Oh, I've missed quite a lot of Facebook comments. Sorry about that. Hello, Eileen in Cork. Cynthia, morning to you too. Is it dull there, Jackie? We're okay. It's going to be dull later, I suppose, isn't it? Now then, I've got some new fabrics to show you, but I'll be quick. I haven't got a nudity, but I have brought out one of my one that I wrote at Christmas time last year that you might not have heard before, and it's one of my favourite ones. So I thought we'll have a ditty anyway, even if you might have heard it before. And we're going to make this. It's a biscornu pouch. You may have seen biscornu pincushions before, but this time I've made a zippered pouch. It's all fully lined and everything, no seams on the inside, no raw edges on the inside. And it's actually a little bit fun. It's a little bit unusual, something different to make. So we're going to be doing this in a bit. When we've had a bit of a chat. Hello, Dorothy in Sutton Coldfield. My eldest lad was born in Sutton Coldfield at Good Hope Hospital. There you go. Hello, Lorraine in the Gold Coast. And Judy in Berlin. Good to hear from you too. Hi, Derek. Alison in Tasmania. We're all over the place today, aren't we? Hi, Debbie. Gina. Still haven't found the ditty book, Jean. I'm trying to remember what was in there and slowly go through and rewrite everything, but it's actually, I was going to say it's never quite the same second time round, but normally things are better second time round, aren't they? It's a bit like when you sew a project and it all goes horribly wrong, you say, oh, I'm going to have to start all over again now. It's normally better the second time around, so I'm not too worried about it. Hello, Lubgear. Oh, Bernadette's off to Nairobi in December. Can you catch up with Lubgear while you're there? Is that close? Oh, not one of those kind of books, Leslie. A new ditty book, not a nudity book. Oh, it's Saturday morning. It's not even 12 o'clock. Oh, both your kids in Good Hope, Karen. Oh, I've had them all over the place. One in Sutton Coldfield, and one in Nottingham, and one in Derby. Eva's got a pink parcel. Let me show you some new fabrics first. Because we had the sale on the website last week, we've got lots of empty spaces. So my daughter has been in her element. This is as much as we've managed to get on the website so far. We've still got half a room full of fabric. See what you get when you support us like that and you clear all the shelves, you get more newness. So let me take you through these. Let me move my coffee out the way before it does go too cold. I'll be quick. I know we've got lots, but I just wanted to show you what we've got here. So first up, this is Dashwood Studios, Hedgerow and Birds. This is a collection of 3. It is beautiful quality. It's incredibly smooth. I'm not quite in my right place, am I? Let me move over. How's that better? And gorgeous colours as well, really different and unusual. So we've got butterflies and birds for this one. This is from the same collection, which is watering cans, again Dashwood Studios. I love the colour of that. It's like a citric mustard kind of colour, isn't it? And the third one in the collection is the teal birds. So we don't sell them all together, but if you did want a collection, if you're making a quilt or something like that, let me move those because that's a bit distracting. You know that the colours are going to go together beautifully because they have been designed to go together. And there's so many colours in here. If you wanted to mix and match with pale pinks or with any colour of green, actually, I think those would go really well. So that's your first lot. Then we've got a collection of two. Love this one. This one is by Blank Quilting and it's called Owl Prowl. Love the colours because they're kind of bright but not too bright, if you know what I mean. But yes, definitely being watched when you're making something out of this one. So that's a Blank Quilting Owl Prowl, and the one to go with it is your Owl Prowl flowers. You would need a plain in there, I think, to break it up a little bit if you're going to use them together. Susan's got 2 pink parcels. Okay, so that's those. We've got some little Johnny fabrics as well, a couple of those. We've got more of those actually coming in later on today. So we've got sunglasses. Remember the sunglasses case we made a few weeks ago? Wouldn't that make a fabulous sunglasses case? Or in fact anything for your holidays. Are you going away? Not me. Not for a few years, I don't think, the way things are. So we have sunglasses. This again is little Johnny, and chess pieces. Chess pieces that don't look too chessy from a distance, do they? I think if you like the design, you don't have to be a chess player to actually use it, but it's nice. Again, it's a little bit of fun. So those are the little Johnny fabrics that we have. They're all on the website on Debbie Shaw Sewing under New In. New In? I think it's called New In. One of the first sections you come to on the website. That was, yes, Derek, an owl waistcoat. I want to see the pictures. Thanks, Sharon. Oh, we've got Lisa. Morning, Lisa. Lisa with a spanner. Now, this one, I didn't realise until I opened up the rolls this morning. This is Riley Blake. It's Winceyette. It is like a brush cotton. It is so soft you wouldn't believe. So, oh, baby blankets would be amazing. I wish you could feel this. It's incredibly, well, you know what Winceyette feels like, or brushed cotton. It's just so incredibly soft. It's beautiful. It's only £5.75 for half a metre. All the fabrics come in half metre length, come by the half metre, not in half metre lengths. So the prices that you see on the website are per half metre. But if you did want to make a baby quilt out of that and you needed a metre, just order 2 pieces and they will come in one. We can't stop stroking that. It's so soft. Oh, happy holidays, Joe in Wales. Hope you're having a nice time. You'll love this one. Well, I hope you love all of them, but I think this one particularly because you sew, don't you? And this is a sewing one. So this is Dashwood Studio again. Lovely pale pink. And this is called Sewing Hobbies. So we've got that. I love the colours on them. They like the teal and the pinks go really well together. But we've got buttons and needles and threads and lots of stuff. Lots of sewing stuff. So these are all Dashwood Studio. So these are all quite, well, they're good quality and all brand new today. There you go on your holidays in Wales. How about a beach bag made out of lollipops? This is Lazy Days Ice Lollies. And then again, all Dashwood Studios. This one is called Good Vibes Hearts. Pretty, isn't it? So hearts full of flowers. Hi, Lucy in Melbourne. And then this one is the same range. So it's the still Dashwood, it's the Good Vibes, but this is called Good Vibes Blocks. So again, they go together if you wanted to go for a couple of them. Now the way that this one is cut, this is a fabric, not a panel. So we will do our best when we're having these cut to order to cut right along the edge of the squares. So you may get a little bit more than half a metre, but if it does come up that one of the squares is cut through, then sorry, that's just the way that it comes off the bolt. So this isn't sold as a panel where you have a specific amount of squares that you can use. It's sold as a printed fabric. But we'll do our best to make sure that you don't get half squares. Hello, Kay in South Dakota. Yeah, that's sunglasses and ice cream as well. You can almost hear, well, you know, if you're on holiday, you live by the sea, the sound of the waves crashing on the pebbly beaches and the smell of the sea salts. Oh, hot and sunny in Provence, apparently. Says Michelle. Are we speaking Spanish, Lucinette? Don't understand a word. Bon dia, juice tia Benko A as Obras de. Thank you. That's clean. Hi Tracy. Hi Linda from South Gippsland. I don't know where South Gippsland. Where's South Gippsland? I've not heard of that one. Right. Okay. Two more, just really quickly. You may recognise these because we've had them in perfect pairs before. In fact, this one was in a trio, but we have them on their own now. So this is Into the Blue, Dashwood Studios again, and then this one is Rock Pool Coral. So you have seen these before if you've seen the perfect pairs or the collections that we've done, but this first time we've actually brought these to you on their own. Okay, so that's all new fabric. Well, it's not all new fabrics. That's a lot of new fabrics. I don't want to bore you for too long. Is it ditty time? Or is it sewing time? Shall we have a ditty? Let's do a ditty first of all. Hi, Simon. Hi, Susan in Croydon. Karen in Cuxhaven in Germany. Hello. Oh, Lucinette's still speaking Spanish. I'm sure we can translate that. I'll try that later on. So again, I have read this one to you before, but it's been a while ago. So where did I put it? Here we go. And this one, my favourite chair. You may remember this one, but it's one of my favourite ones. You ready? Okay. It's not fair when people stare at the gaping hole in the seat of my favourite chair. I just glare because they're not aware that I can repair the gaping chair in the seat of my favourite chair. And now they don't stare at the gaping tear in the seat of my favourite chair. They just stare at my favourite chair and say, how debonair. Can I place my derriere, guess where, on the seat of my favourite chair? I just say, oh yeah, because I really don't care. Should we do some sewing? Okay. I hope you like it. It's a little quick ditty, that one, but I kind of like that one. So biscornu cushion, this is what we're going to be doing. Make it in any size you like. I'd go larger than smaller to start with because it is fully lined as well, so I think it's easier to make if it is a little bit bigger. So this is what we've got. A zip that's far too long, and I have, here we go, 4 squares of fabric. View out the way. And these measure, forgot what they measure, bear with me a minute. I will do a YouTube video on these later on, so you don't have to put it with the chatter if you just want to make the pouch. 10 inches square. It's important that they are square. So I have 2 pieces that I've put fusible fleece on the wrong side. So these are going to be the outer pieces, and I've put H640 onto the wrong side of these. 216 in Alaska, says Carrie. You up late or up early? And then I've got 2 squares that I haven't put H640 onto. So basically 2 patterned, well, 2 butterfly, doesn't have to be butterfly, 2 floral, and fusible fleece onto the wrong side of each one of one of each of, am I making any sense there? 2 pieces the same, one's got fleece on the back. 2 pieces the same, one with fleece on the back. Honestly, I can't talk this morning. And then I've got a small piece of fabric that I'm just going to put some ends onto the zip, and I know my zip's far too long, but I'll cut that down to size in a bit. So first thing I'm going to do here is to hope I've remembered my rotary cutter. We're going to chop one of these pairs in half. So the outside, there we go. The outside panels, that nearly went, I'm going to use the butterfly fabric, and the bottom of the bag I'm going to use that fabric. So that's going to be the lining on that side, and that's going to be the lining on that side. So whatever fabric I'm using on the outside, so for instance here it is my sunflower fabric, that's the one that's going to have the padding on the back, and then the one that doesn't have the padding is the lining, and I need to cut these in half. So let's line those up together and straight down the 5-inch mark and see what I'm doing there. So I've put both of those in half. So I don't need the mat anymore. And we're going to put the zip in first of all, and that's going to go in between these two pieces. So let's move that out of the way for now. Right, so again, zip is too long. I tend to do that a lot for two reasons. The price of a, that must be an 18-inch, 21-inch zip. 21-inch zip. The price of a 21-inch zip isn't that much different to the price of a 9-inch zip. So I tend to buy zips that are longer, then I cut them down to the size that I want, because if I've only got a 9-inch zip and I wanted a 21-inch zip, I'm stuck. So that's what I tend to do. That's why my zips are always too long. And besides that, with the metal stoppers that you get at each end, I like those out of the way when I'm sewing. Can't always do that if I'm dressmaking. Obviously I'm not going to chop those off, but if I'm making a bag or a cushion cover or something like that, I don't want to risk the needle hitting those, so I can cut them away if the zip's too long. So, hello Karen. Sheila's worth practicing with a rotary cutter, and don't worry about it. Keep your fingers out of the way as you're holding your ruler, and just practice with it. If you have the cutter at a very slight angle to the ruler as well, that tends to help so you don't go too wobbly. But it's worth persevering with that one. Okay, let's cut this down a little bit. Lock that off. So I need about 1 inch of fabric on each end here, so the zip's not going to go right to the end. So let me just chop the end of this off. And let's chop the end of that off. And then I'll measure it for you. That is now 8 inches long. So that gives me 1 inch at each end. So I need to fill that in with fabric, which is why I've got this scrap of fabric here. So let's cut a little piece off. I will cut this down again later on. These are far too big, but with fiddly pieces of fabric I find it easier to sew with them bigger and then cut them back down to size again. So these two pieces need to go right sides together with the zip in the middle like so. And then we're going to sew straight across here. So let's bring this in. Got a new camera. How's about that? There's not a bob cam. Still working on that one, but I thought we could get nice and close at a different angle on this one. So there we go. So I've just lost my foot pedal, excuse me. There we go. And we'll sew straight across. So straight across the end of the actual zip. Like that. And then I'm just going to squish that away from the zip, and I can trim that down a little bit. I'll cut it down to size properly later, but again I just find it easy to have those bits too big rather than too small. Then let's do the same on the opposite end. In fact, let's put the zip together. Let me see if I've got a glue stick down here with me. No. I normally like to glue the ends in place, but I kind of seem to be out of stock of those. Okay, so I'll hold it together. So right sides together with a small piece of fabric. These are only a couple of inches square, so nothing, you don't need to measure those. Make sure the zip's closed at the end, like so, and then we'll just sew straight across the end here. Ruby, Coco. I shall get this bob cam sorted out. Hopefully, well, if we ever get to move in the new studio, we'll get that sorted out so we can see Bob. She doesn't like coming in here too much at the moment. She's just outside enjoying the sunshine. Oh, thank you very much, Chef Crew. It's the first time I've used it, so it's only been, I only set it up this morning, so I'm hoping it's pointing in the right direction. Right, so trim that down. Okay. So we have this. So we need to pop, remember we cut this in half, so that's my top fabric. And this is going to go face down in between the two pieces, in the middle. So I go, no, that's too long, that's fine. So I'm going to line up, open it up, the edge of the zip with the edge of the fabric, not the edge of that, but the edge of the zip, and just make sure I've got that inch or so. It'll be a bit bigger than an inch now, so the zip sits centrally in the middle of the fabric. Then I'm going to go straight down the center of the zip tape. So let's pop that under there. I normally have a cover over that light so it's not quite so bright. I don't know what's happened to that. So right, so straight down the center. Experiment with whether or not you need to put your zipper foot on. I find with this huge foot that I have on my sewing machine, it's not necessary with a lot of zips, but if you prefer to put your zipper foot on, then you do what you like. So when we come to the zip pull here, I'm going to stop with the needle in the down position, lift this up and move this out of the way, and then carry on sewing to the end. And then the lining needs to go on the opposite side. You can, if you're confident enough, sew both of these pieces together at the same time. So just moving that slider out of the way. Go on. I prefer not to. So it may seem a little bit long-winded to sew the zip into one side and then sew the lining on when you could do it all in one. In fact, that needs to be closed. But the reason I do that is because if I sew these both on at the same time, I can't see where the zip is, so I can't see that I'm sewing directly down the center of the zip tape. Whereas if I sew separately, I've already got my stitch line here, so I know that I'm sewing in exactly the right place. So that's why I do it that way. You may prefer to do it the other way. So straight over the same stitch line as I've just sewn. I've got the lump where the slider is here, so let's lift this out of the way, like so, and back down again. So if you've just joined us, it's a biscornu pouch we're making, which is this, and it's just made from two 10-inch squares of fabric, 4 10-inch squares of fabric. Unusual, isn't it? I've made so many, well, in fact, huge cushions using that style, but that's the first time this morning I've actually made that. So, you know, when you make something for the first time, it's like, yeah, it worked. I love that. So I hope you do as well. So this is where we are. So I've got one side of the zip sewn in between the lining and the outer side. So now we need to put the second side on. And make sure my fabric's the same way around, because this is a directional fabric I'm using. So now these two pieces, right sides together. So line up the edge of the zip and these end pieces here. And then again we'll sew straight down the zip tape. Oh, Bonnie, thank you. I'm glad you can see everything nice and clearly. Again, I will be, hopefully straight after this, I'll do a YouTube video. So you've just got this. You've got all of this without you lot. Right, so let's move that out of the way. Needle down while we do that. Out you go. Come on. Do you ever talk to your work? Stern words of encouragement mine get quite a lot. Don't very often get praise. Works for me. Okay, and then down to the end. $3.17 in California. What are you doing up? So there's the outer fabric with the zip in the centre. So now we need to do the same with the lining. So we know that the lining needs to be on the opposite side of the zip. So I like to move the slider to the end. So lining fabric, right sides together, and we'll sew this in the same place. So straight down the same line. If you prefer to pin, of course, then that's entirely your prerogative. So I'm just lining up the edges of the fabric and sew straight down. So again, I can see the lump where my slider is. So let's lift this out of the way and move this one. Bernadette, what do you say to it though? Oh, keep it clean. Mine's normally just a come on, and it's not going fast enough for me or slowing down over thick fabrics. Okay, so I have this look. I can now trim back all of that extra fabric on the zip tabs. And I'm just going to give that a press, but I haven't switched my iron on. Oh, and I haven't got my plug. Just bear with me while I go down here and plug in my iron. Should have done that earlier, so I do apologise. Cheers. No coffee everywhere. Bear with me. Oh, in you go. Right, light's a bit too bright. No, I know, Debbie, I was just saying, normally I have the bulb covered over under there, and it's not for some reason, so apologies for that. I normally have a little bit of white tack on it, so I wonder if that'll work on here. Because this is a machine that I use at home, you see. No, that won't work. It's too big for that one. There, that'll do a bit of the light. I'll fix the rest of it for later. So let's press this open, then I'm going to top stitch all the way around the edge. So let's do that. Do that. Hello Dorothy in Bay City, Michigan. It works though, doesn't it, Lynn? You have a word with your machine, it definitely pays attention. So I'm just pressing that away from the zip, and then I'm going to top stitch all around the zip just to make it nice and neat. Jean dress forms. Now I have a dress form, looking at it over there with an apron on it as an ornament in the corner of the room. I don't tend to use a dress form, to be honest. I think if I was dressmaking for other people, then I may choose to do that, and maybe one that you can alter with the sizes. My dress form isn't the same shape as me, so I'd rather try the things on myself to make sure that they fit me, not fit her. She's got a waist and I don't have one, and if you expand the waist, everything else kind of expands as well, so I can't make her this barrel shape that I've turned into. So it doesn't really work for me. But I suppose it depends what you're doing, who are you making for. If it's for yourself, then I wouldn't. They can be really expensive as well. Sun's out in Aberdeen. Right, as soon as that's going to come on. Says Diane. Hi Diane. Sharper focus. Are we not out of focus, are we? Looks in focus to me. Let me know if you think I'm out of focus, but I think that's all right. We'll have a play with it. I've only used it for the first time today. Anyway, top stitching is what I'm doing around this zip. So I can lengthen the stitch slightly because it's not a seam, so it doesn't need to be strong. So I'm going to go up to 2.6 on this one. Whoop, that's my iron gone. And then we'll sew all around it. And again, if you prefer to put your zipper foot on, then that's fine. So let's move that out of the way. Out of focus. And let's go all the way around. So needle down when we turn around. Would it be nice to do this in a contrast thread as well if you've got more time? Maybe in a teal green would look nice. Morning Dawn! Right, and so back down this side again. So the top stitching I think looks nice, but it also keeps the lining and the outer fabric in place, so the lining doesn't kind of move inside and get caught in the zip. There we go. Sheila loves the sound of a sewing machine. Me too. Seems to be the one consistent sound in our house. going every day, all day. It'll be going even more when Kim comes up later on. She's got loads of work to do. Audrey, the foot on my machine is, it's actually just the standard foot. It's this is a Janome 6600. They don't actually make it anymore, but there are other machines kind of more advanced than this one now. But this has got an integrated walking foot in the back of the back of the foot. So that's actually a walking foot, which is why the foot's so fat, because it literally clips into there like that. You can take it off and put a regular foot on there, a regular standard foot, and not use this, but I just get used to using the walking foot all the time. So a lot of sewing machines will have a walking foot that you need to attach, which I did have some knocking around, but I don't know what I've done with that. Here we go. So that would be what most walking feet look like. So this one's actually a Singer. I've got a brother one which looks the same. I've got one for, well, Kim's got one for her sewing machine. They all look practically the same. And basically these will, you take off the ankle from your machine. So if you take off the bit that normally holds the foot on here, and then this clips around the same bar, so the screw goes in here, but this kind of claw-like thing sits onto the needle clamp. So when your needle goes up and down, this goes up and down, and as that goes up and down, it's got feed teeth on the top, so that helps to feed the fabric through. So that's what they normally look like. They can be a little bit noisy when you put them on, and most of them you can use with any stitch as well, so you can just leave it on your machine all the time. Mine, I said, is actually built into the machine, so it is there all the time anyway, so that's the way I like it. That's why I don't put a zipper foot on very often, because it means unscrewing all of this, putting the normal ankle on, and then the zipper foot, and then changing it all afterwards. So I just find it easier to carry on regardless without changing the foot. Yeah, so I think they're worth investing in, particularly if you're quilting, if you're sewing large items like curtains. With curtains, your curtain fabric tends to be a different weight to your curtain lining, so if you've got a large stretch of fabric, it can move, it can slip a little bit. So even though you cut your fabrics perfectly, by the time you get to the end of the row of stitching, you're wondering why your fabrics change size, and it's purely the feed teeth underneath are feeding the slippery fabric through quicker than the presser foot on the top is bouncing the top fabric through, so it slips. So it's fantastic if you're doing things like that, or working with laminated fabrics, cork fabrics, faux leathers and that kind of thing. Anyway, we're making a biscornu, are we not? Oh, Marion's had a pink parcel. A good daylight bulb. I have, June, oh, what are they called? Native lighting. I have a standard lamp where I sew. It's actually in my ironing room at the moment because lamp's gone in there, and it's a big black thing. It looks like a big stick with a light on the end of it, but you can move it around and tie it in knots and all kinds of things. I like the standard lamp because I can have it right behind me and it comes over my shoulder, or I can have it over here and it comes that way, and it doesn't take up any room on my counter. So that's native lighting. That's the one that I use. Old lady but reliable, bit like myself, Joanna, your sewing machine. Yeah, I think it's worth trying with a walking foot. I said I never change the foot that's on here. It's always on the walking foot. Anyway, let me show you what we're doing. So that's the zip section finished. You could, if you wanted to, put a little loop of ribbon in there. I haven't. This is only the second one that I've made, so I'm still kind of learning, really. So we need to put the back of the bag on. So we're going to make sure that this is open. And whereas you would expect to put two pieces together like this, we're actually going to put them together like that. And that's what creates this kind of odd shape. Biscornu being French for quirky, if you were wondering. So that's what creates that shape. So what I need to do is to mark the center points of each one of the squares. Oh, Linda hasn't had a surprise. Well, you never know, Linda. There's still more surprises to go out. So you could mark that with a pen if you like. I'm just making a tiny snip. I'm using around about 1/4 inch seam allowance. So make sure if you're snipping into your fabric that you're not snipping into the area that you're going to sew. So that's the centre of each one of these pieces that I've marked, and then I'm going to do the same with this one. So let's fold that in half. I only really need to snip the outer section, and I don't need to do this because I know that the centre is right in the middle of where the zip is. Like so. And now we're going to line these up. So I'm coming here because it's a bit closer. So where I've snipped into the side here, I tell you what I'm just going to do as well, just to make it a little bit easier, is I'm spraying on my ditty. I'm just putting a little bit of 505 spray on the lining to hold it onto the fabric. Make sure you spray away from your sewing machine, just to hold that flat. Don't need to do that, don't rush out and buy 505 if you haven't got any, but if you have got some, then that may be worth doing. So let's start here, move you out of the way, and right sides together, where I've made the snip in the side here, I'm going to put the point. Don't start sewing with the edge of the fabric right on the snip. You'll need to overlap it to the seam allowance. So overlap that by about 1/4 inch. And then my next snip will be about 1/4 inch from the edge here. And then we're going to sew all the way around. Make sure the zip is open. So I'm going to start sewing 1/4 inch in, because that's my seam allowance. Just tap that in place. And I'm going to sew, come on. I'm going to sew with a straight stitch, I've done a triple stitch for some reason. So just get my pen. I should show you where I'm sewing to. So there's my snip. And I'm going to sew up to where the snip is, which will be about 1/4 inch or 1/4 inch away from the edge of the fabric underneath there. But because I've got the snip, I can see exactly where I need to sew to. 151 spray, I don't know what that is, Bernadette. I've not heard of 151. So what brand is that one? It's not, that's a new one to me. Anybody else know? Oh, let me show you. So that is bright, isn't it? That's the problem. Okay, we'll sort that out for later. When you come to the corner, leave the needle down, and I'm spinning this fabric around so my next straight sides are lined up, and this will overlap the centre of the bottom piece again by about 1/4 inch. So stop 1/4 inch from the end, needle down, lift your foot up, and then spin this around again so that the edges are together. There's my snip, and that's going to be about 1/4 inch before I reach the end of that part. And I'm sewing through both the outer and the lining section on the zip section. Hope this makes sense. So again, let's go down to the snip, needle down, lift your foot up. You can see the shape starting to come now. And then let's twist this around. I am using my own machine, Patricia. I must get another one though, because this is too heavy for me to carry down here every day. And most of my work is in the house, so Kim's got her machine back again. So I need to buy another one for down here. Almost there. So again, lift your foot up, move this around so that the edges are meeting. There's my snip, and that's going to stop again 1/4 inch from the end. This is why I'm saying that the bigger the bag, I think the easier it's going to be. So let's turn this one around again. as long as those edges are together. And every time you do that, you'll find the fabric's meeting in exactly the right place. Needle down, lift it up, almost there, 2 more sides to go. So let's turn this around again. There's my snip, just before I get to the edge of the fabric. I would get another Janome Patricia. I'm actually looking to buy the same machine that Kim had, which I bought from Sewing Street. I don't know if they've got any stock at the moment, but a little machine like that is absolutely fine for what I do down here. Right, this is the final side. Just line those edges up again. So I've literally sewn all the way around with this one. So that's how we're looking. So you can really see the shape now. And then we're going to put the lining on top. There it is, right. In fact, no, we're okay. I thought I might snip into the corners, but I think they're going to be okay. Yeah, I like the little Janome. Kim's got a 570A. I wouldn't have the A because I don't need an alphabet. This one's got an alphabet on it anyway, but I like a machine that I can have confidence that it'll sew through thicker fabrics and cope with whatever I chuck at it, because when I use a machine I tend to use it every day. This one I bought because I wanted a heavy duty machine, and I wanted a fast machine, and I wanted a machine that I know will sew through thick fabrics. So I actually phoned up sewing machine discounts, I think they're called, in Cheshire, because I buy my machines. I'm not giving them or loaned them. I like to buy machines, so I know if I'm recommending a machine, it's because I've actually bought it, not because I'm being paid to do that or anything. So I phoned them up and I explained what I wanted, and they recommended this. So it's got a solid steel base that I can hardly lift the thing. It's got far too many stitches for me, to be honest. There's about 700 on there, and I should never use them, but it tends to be the more you pay for a machine, the more stitches you get automatically anyway. But it was speed and reliability and I say a sturdiness, being able to sew through lots of layers, which is why I went for that one. Anyway, hello Tarina. Shan't tell anybody you're watching while you're at work. Joe's bought a Janome 780 DC. Oh, that sounds nice. Okay, so now we need to put the lining on. So let me just, that way, right. No, that's corners there. Now the lining needs to go on the opposite side of the zip. So in other words, right sides together with this section. So I'll just take a look where, that's the side, that's the point. So this needs to go on top of here, but I'm going to sew in the same way. So I've got the same seam going on like this. So it's exactly the same as I've just done. So I'm sewing it on in exactly the same way, but I've got the zip section in the middle. So this is why it might get a little bit fiddly. So I'm going to start here, and just like I did before, I'm overlapping the point very slightly. So I'm starting to sew 1/4 of an inch from the point there, and when I get to this section I will stop, leave the needle down and turn it around. Is that making sense? Maybe I'll pin this one so you can see exactly what I'm doing. Is that better? Okay, so I'm starting at the point, overlap slightly. One thing to make note of, because I'm in effect sewing right sides together with this section with the back, do you remember I made the snips in the side? That's the side, because there's the snip. So I don't want to put a point to a side, I want point to point. So I'll just make note of where that is and start at a point. So overlap that very slightly, and let's pin it. So we're going to go up to the next corner here, and then turn all of the fabric around and sew down to the next point there. I might take the pins out before I sew because I'm not used to that, but I thought this might explain. So again here, ignore what's going on with all of this fabric. We just want to make sure that, move that way, that these edges meet. So I'm going to turn this around this way so the fabric goes into here. So this starts to look a little bit messy and a little bit bulky, but I'm just concentrating on where the seams are going. I do find it easier without the pins, to be honest. So again, just before the end, let's sew into the next point. I will take those out. So right sides together, edge to edge. Didn't put my snips in there, did I? Going to stop just before the end. Needle down and turn it around. So let's move all this bulky stuff out of the way. So the end of this piece will be just across the zip. So again, we'll stop just before the end. Draw out that raw edge, move this out of the way and flip this part around. Now we'll need to leave a turning gap, but I'm going to get going a little bit with this first before I leave a gap. So I'll need to leave a gap in one of these straight sides. I've only a couple of inches or so, so I can turn it the right side out. So let me just carry on for another couple of sides and then we'll do that. Karen, it's funny, we had a discussion about this on Wednesday's Facebook, the automatic thread cutter. I'm in two minds about it. It does leave a little bit of thread, so you do need to trim it. I find it really handy when I'm making lots of things and you just get used to cut. But then if you need the tails of your thread, so for instance if you're patchworking or you're piecing and you're starting sewing right at the edge of your fabric and you like to hold your thread up, you'll find that you haven't got anything to hold because it's chopped it off so close. And the other time is if you want to gather anything. I was gathering something for a pair of pyjamas yesterday. And I had to take the bobbin out and pull the thread through so that I'd actually got a tail of thread to gather. So I'm not sure, I wouldn't miss it, to be honest, if I didn't have it. And I think thread cutters can actually be a bit of a bad habit, although I use it all the time. So I don't know, I'm in two minds. What does everybody else think? Morning, Patty. I'm not forgetting the opening, I'm going to do that on the next bit. Who was that? Sorry, that's Sheila. Sheila in capital letters, because you know how many of these messages I'm missing. Right, so I'm coming up to the last couple of sides now. So I'll leave the turning gap in here. So keep this all nice and flat. So reverse a bit, snip. See, this is where I like the snipper. I don't have to pull the thread through and I don't have to cut it. And I suppose it does save a little bit of thread in that case as well. Two more sides to go. So again, this is starting to look messy, but all I'm concentrating on is lining up the edges here. So just concentrate on where you're sewing, not on kind of what's going on over this side. But so with the foot pedal as well, I had one of the first machines I had with that facility, I actually lost the foot pedal, so I couldn't use it. And I got so used to not using the foot pedal that even when I had a machine that had one, I didn't use it. So then you get used to things again, don't you? Advanced needle threader, Helen. What's an advanced needle threader? Right. So this is what we have now. And so it all looks a little bit tight and a little bit messy, but it will be fine. Where's the gap that I left? There we go. I hope that's big enough. So let's turn this the right side out. We are still live, Glow. And we're making a biscornu pouch, a zippered biscornu pouch. Let's pull that through. So buttons I'd sew by hand. I was doing that yesterday as well, as a matter of fact, covering buttons. But large items, if I'm dressmaking, it's got a gather or a cushion cover or something, then definitely on the sewing machine. Right, so let's turn that through. So I'm still inside out at the moment, and there's my turning gap. So let me just see if I've got some thread actually. May as well finish it all properly, hadn't we? We were saying this the other day as well, weren't we? Needles with tiny eyes, that you can't actually thread them. I think that one's all right. So I'm just going to hand sew this close, and I'm only going to use an over-edge stitch because I don't think anybody, even if I gave this as a gift, is going to turn it inside out and look at what I've been doing. What was that about the walking foot? So your messages, when they come up, just scroll round, so I do tend to miss a few, I'm afraid. I don't believe in walking with a walking foot. Always running with a walking foot. Different than most needle threaders. Oh, okay. I'll have a look out for that one. I wouldn't buy a machine without a needle threader these days, to be honest. I can't see properly, that's why. These are bad enough. Okay. Oh, missed the end of the knot there. Do that one again. All right, so where was that gap? There we go. So I just want to catch the lining. I don't want the stitch to go all the way through the seam. So let's see if that's clearer. That's better, isn't it? So I'm just going just underneath the stitch line and just doing it's a slip stitch actually, isn't it? Just to close the opening. And again, I'm not too worried about the neatness of this, unless you're selling what you're making, of course, then it's got to be perfect. But if this was a gift, as long as it's closed and it's pretty neat, I wouldn't worry too much about invisibly stitching. The smaller the hole that you leave, the smaller the turning gap, the less stitches you've got to do as well. It's almost there. There we go. Okay, let's cut that off. I'm just going to reach down, just bear with me a second, just want to get the iron up. That dropped on the floor earlier, which seems to be a bit of a habit. At least it was off. Huh. Okay, so snip that. Now we can turn it the right side out, and this is what we're going to look like when we're finished. So just push out the corners. Like so. And I am going to press it, but just along the seams, just to make them nice and crisp. A tip for sewing needles: take the needle eye to the thread rather than the thread to the needle eye. Not tried that one. I'll have a go at that one, Sue. So all I'm doing here is just creasing along the seam and just pressing. Might use a bit of best press actually on that, just to make it nice and crisp. The fabric I'm using, by the way, they're both on the website. The daisy one, this is a quilting cotton. The daisy one's actually a poplin, so it's a lot finer, but because I've got the H640 on the wrong side of it, you don't really notice the difference. So poplin I'd normally save for dressmaking or items where I want a really nice drape to the fabric, but it just goes to show that you can use fabric that you wouldn't normally think of if you just love that pattern and that's what you want to use. So these two don't go together. The butterflies isn't part of a collection with the daisies. They're completely different collections, completely different fabrics. Well, they're both cotton, but you know. but they just, I thought, didn't go so well together. There we are. Last one. So that's just kind of emphasising the shape of the seam. Let's remember to turn that off. Quite often leave it on. And there we're finished. So again, if you wanted, I might do that on the YouTube one actually. We'll put a couple of little loops on the side here, so you've got something to hold on to as you pull the zip open and closed. But that's another little biscornu pouch finished. This one, remember, was 10-inch squares. The one that I made this morning was 8.5 inches. So that's kind of the difference in size. You can make them any size you like. You can go up to 12 inches, 15 inches. But that's the difference in size for those two. So once you've got the hang of how it works, I just think they're really different, aren't they? I think that's really an unusual little pouch. And it looks really complicated. I think the first time you make one, you're going to wonder what on earth's going on as you're going around sewing squares together in opposite directions. But then the penny drops, you realise how it works, and I think you're going to be making loads of them, because they'll make great gifts for Christmas presents, for your bathroom bits and bobs, for your sewing notions and all of that kind of thing. And again, any size you like. So you can even make tiny ones if you're confident enough, and use them as penny purses and things like that. Oh, sorry everyone on Facebook, I'm miles behind again. I scrolled up and then it doesn't scroll back down again. I'll have a look at that needle threader later on. Thank you. Sewing clips is a good idea. I have mine in a big teacup. Sarah's making a mobile phone wristlet. Lovely. Thank you, Christine. Videos stay here on YouTube and on sell 'em, says Lisa. Sell 'em. Go on, sell 'em. That's going to keep you busy, Lisa. Get them on your Etsy shop. What happened to the tabs? What tabs? The tabs on the end of the zip are here. Just so that I'm not sewing the zip, because the reason I put those on is because I'm sewing into a point and I didn't want to sew into the actual zip of the point, so I put the tabs on the end there. Is that what you mean? But the one that I'm going to do on YouTube, I will put some loops on the end of there as well, because I think that would work well. Hello, who's that in Cairns, Australia? Sorry, you've disappeared. Cindy, hello, welcome along. I think we're up to date there, aren't we? Oh, I'm glad you like it, Mandy. Again, I will do this. In fact, I'll do it now. But I think my granddaughter's here. I think we're babysitting for a while Kim goes out to lunch with a friend. So depending on how besotted she is with her grandfather at the moment, because when those two are together I don't get a look in, I'll come back and I'll do a little bit of filming and leave them to it. Hello from Tasmania, Beverly. Okay, well that's me done for today. Again, any of the fabrics, if you're interested, have a look on the website. Actually, I did notice this morning when I was having a look what Kimberly had put on, you know, we had the sale on last weekend. There's still a sale section on the website. I didn't look at it to see what's on there. I know we haven't got any fat quarters left. Had the sewing with granddaughter last week was interesting, Lisa. I was saying on Wednesday actually, my granddaughter's 6 and she made a handbag out of a paper bag and sellotape, and I thought that's it, about time she learned how to sew. So I've got a little brother sewing machine down there actually, so just a really basic one. So I told her all about the thread and how it worked, and she was like, and then we made a little bag out of felt, so we didn't have to, you know, hem it or line it or anything like that. And she was okay with it, so she put her foot on the foot pedal as I was steering the fabric through. But then the TV was on at the same time, so she got to the end of that and then kind of just went. So I sat and waited for about 10 minutes before she came back to me. And we made that, and we made a doll, and I think she just about had enough. But she enjoyed it and she loved the doll, and the doll fit in the bag, and we went out for lunch afterwards and she took it with her and she was showing everybody. So hopefully when she starts getting lots of praise for what she's made, next time she's up she's going to be doing some more sewing. Okay, so I'm going to have a oh, Joanna, I'm glad you like it, thank you. I shall see you again on Wednesday at 4 o'clock. Remember, Wednesdays now, so if you're around Wednesday afternoon, UK time. That'll be 4. Otherwise, here again next Saturday at 11 o'clock. Don't know what we're going to make. Didn't know what we're going to make today till about 8 o'clock this morning. Any suggestions? Oh, I'll tell you what we're making on Wednesday. Toweling. I've had lots of questions about using toweling, and I haven't actually got any here to make something today, but I thought we'll make a toweling turban next week. So that's going to be Wednesday at 4 o'clock. So that's and using my sewing machine because Kim's got my overlocker as well. Okay, I shall see you. Thank you, Mary. I shall see you again on Wednesday. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you enjoyed the rest of your weekend. Take care, and I shall see you very soon. Bye bye.